order.
All right, everyone, they're just about to return from lunch in the courtroom. We're going to continue our live stream. I just wanted everyone to be able to have a little recap of what we were hearing this morning. This morning, the courtroom continued testimony with Detective Marion Lemons, and also continued to watch different interviews that Leilani had with FBI agents as well. So right now I'm pulling over some video from that interview that we watched a large portion of in the first half of the day before they broke for lunch. And here's a bit of that interview that Leilani had with the FBI, talking about her whereabouts and what happened the night before she reported Quentin missing.
She was making a reference there to what she had told you and Special Agent Snyder on the 5th, right?
Yes.
And what is she saying she had told you?
That it was right next to the Chevron.
The place that she met?
That she went to, yes.
Is that what she told you on the 5th?
It is not.
What did she tell you?
She told us that she met Misty at the Chevron, and she wrote it in her written statement.
More than once, right?
Yes.
And that was stopped at 3 minutes into the file, which is 12:32:40 on the timestamp in the bottom left corner of the video.
Pull in, got the order, go, turn around, and put it back. How did you turn around? Pull straight around neighborhood. What neighborhood? The one right next to Chevron. It's Azalea. Right next to it.
Azalea? And what kind of neighborhood is that?
It's trailer park.
It's a trailer park?
Yes.
Okay. And when you were in the trailer park, you pulled right back out?
Yes. I pull it in and I pull it out.
Okay. So why does video surveillance show you stopping?
Stopping to get that orange out.
Within the trailer park?
Getting the orange out.
You're not near the Chevron?
No, she lives near the Chevron. Pull it in.
Who is she?
Misty, the one who gave me, I gave her as much information
Well,
as I could on her.
let's talk about that, okay? Because Misty hadn't talked to you.
Yeah, she has.
She hasn't talked to you in quite some time.
Yeah, she has.
She did not have a conversation with you about the orange out.
Yes.
We also continue to hear testimony from Detective Marion Lemons about the different things they found on Leilani's phone. She mentioned different messages, web searches, as well as money transfers. And now we're expecting for testimony to continue in the second half of the day. Just a warning, there will be some graphic content ahead. We wanted to give you that warning. We are on a 30-minute delay, so everything you're seeing is about 30 minutes behind. But they're about to get started, so we'll take you right to the courtroom.
Jury is now entering.
Hey.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Please have a seat. I hope you enjoyed lunch. I hope you enjoyed the break. Thank you. And I have to ask you, were you able to follow the court's instructions? Yes. Okay. And did anyone do any research? No. Did anyone engage in any discussion with anyone? No. And were you exposed to any media or social media? No. All right, thank you. Everyone has indicated they have not. And so with that, Mr. Dean, let's begin.
In those October 5th and October 8th interviews, where was it that the defendant was claiming she had met her drug dealer red on the night of October 4th?
Flacco's Tacos off of Highway 204.
What is Flacco's Tacos?
I believe it's a Mexican restaurant.
Did the investigative team determine that that was not true?
Yes.
Can you tell us how that determination was made?
When we obtained Leilani's cell phone records directly from Verizon and from her cell phone, her GPS coordinates did not show her at Flacco's Tacos.
Where did they show her?
On Arkwright Lane.
Can you describe Arkwright Lane for us, please?
So from where the Flacco's Tacos is at Highway 204 and I-95 area, Arkwright Lane is about a quarter mile down the road where Highway 204 turns into Fort Argyle.
Now, were you able to pinpoint a specific address on Arkwright Lane?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And did you do any follow-up research on that address?
Yes, I did.
To determine what individuals might be associated with it?
Yes.
Now, I don't know that we've talked about the cash app in the defendant's phone. Did you review her phone and see a cash app payment that was made at the time of that trip?
Yes.
And to whom was that cash app payment made?
The name on the transaction was Timothy Weston.
Did you uncover any information about Timothy Weston and any tie to that location on Arkwright Lane that her phone was sitting at that night?
Yes.
Can you tell us what that was?
So I conducted a follow-up on Arkwright Lane. I spoke with Timothy Weston, who resided or was at 14 Arkwright Lane.
Did you see any references in her phone to a Tim? Do you remember seeing?
Referencing Tim, yes.
Can you tell us what those references, like how they referred to him?
Tim 204.
Okay.
They were usually used in conjunction with each other.
And were these in messages between the defendant and Daniel Youngkin talking about going to see Tim 204?
Yes.
Okay. Were there also messages on her phone indicating some contact with a fellow that she had saved as Craig?
Yes.
Okay. And did you find any connection between Craig and that residence on Arkwright Lane?
Yes, I did.
And what was that?
So Craig is Craig Weston, and he is Timothy Weston's cousin.
Okay. Now, did you look at the criminal history of both of those individuals?
I did.
And can you tell us what, if anything, their criminal histories contained in the way of drug arrests?
They've both been arrested for narcotic sales.
Okay. So they're drug dealers?
Yes.
Okay. Tim and Craig Weston of Arkwright Lane.
Yes.
Now, you said you went and talked to them, right?
I did.
Did you wear a badge?
I did.
Did you go with an FBI agent?
I did.
Did you identify yourselves as police?
Yes, we did.
And did you ask them whether they had seen the defendant that night?
Yes.
Were these two drug dealers willing to tell you that they had seen the defendant on the night of October 4th or not?
No, they weren't.
Thank you. Let me just ask you real quickly. We've talked about how the defendant came back in on the 8th for an interview with Bridget Brock at the FBI office.
Yes.
Did Danny Youngkin come in that day as well for a follow-up interview?
Yes, he did.
And did Paul Simon come in that day also?
I'm not sure if it was that day. It may have been a later day. His second interview was conducted.
Okay, but he did, in any case, come in for a follow-up interview?
Yes, he did.
How would you rate Paul's level of cooperation during this investigation?
He was very cooperative.
And how would you rate Danny's level of cooperation during this investigation?
He also was very cooperative.
Anything in particular that he did that causes you to say that?
Both of them were in constant contact with us. Daniel specifically wanted to do anything that we asked him to find Quentin.
Did he agree to any monitoring of his contact with the defendant?
Yes.
And can you tell us about those things?
Yeah, so there was two things that we asked Daniel to do, one of which was a monitoring of his cell phone. Specifically, we wanted to monitor his cell phone in a live manner anytime he communicated with the defendant, which means if Daniel's getting a phone call, we're hearing it. And that applied to all of his phone calls, not just the ones with Leilani.
So he agreed to a wiretap.
Yes.
Any other monitoring he agreed to?
Yes, he also agreed to a hotel monitoring where we set up recording devices in a hotel room that he and Leilani shared so we could listen to their conversations while Leilani thought nobody was around.
How long did the phone monitoring last for, roughly?
I think it lasted 3 months.
And when was the hotel recording operation conducted?
It was between October 7th and 9th.
So it was it in effect then on the day of the October 8th interview that we just watched?
Yes,
They were recorded that evening in a hotel?
yes, they were.
Just a couple more housekeeping questions so that I don't forget.
Mhm.
535 Buckhalter Road, what county is that in?
It's in Chatham County.
And the Azalea Mobile Home Plaza, what county is that in?
Chatham County.
Now, the route between 535 Buckhalter and Azalea Mobile Home Plaza, does it pass through any counties other than Chatham?
No, it doesn't.
And is the landfill on Little Neck Road in Chatham County as well?
Yes, it is.
The Chatham County Police Department has jurisdiction over what geographical areas in Chatham County?
Do you mean like the boundaries?
Well, let me ask you this. The Chatham County Police Department, is it responsible for policing unincorporated Chatham
Yes.
County? And is 535 Buckhalter Road in unincorporated Chatham County?
Yes, it is.
So if it happens there, it's y'all's responsibility.
Correct.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dean. Mr. Hilliard?
Your Honor, this time, if I could reserve questioning, I think we're going to take a witness out of order.
We are. And so Detective Lemons, I'm going to ask you to step down and take your place at the state's table. And Mr. Hilliard, you reserve cross-examination at this time, but you will cross-examine later. Okay. And there is a witness, Mr. Dean, that you wish to call at this time.
Yes, Your Honor. May I first bring some exhibits up to the clerk and make sure that everything's in order?
Yes.
Face the clerk and raise your right hand.
The evidence which you give the court and the jury in the trial decision should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Step this way, please.
All right, good afternoon. Mr. Dean.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury, spelling your first and last name?
Yes, my name is Angie Christensen. Angie is spelled A-N-G-I. Christensen is C-H-R-I-S-T-E-N-S-E-N.
And where do you work, ma'am?
I work at the FBI laboratory in Quantico, Virginia.
And what is your position there?
I work there as a forensic anthropologist.
And what is a forensic anthropologist?
A forensic anthropologist is a scientist who studies the human skeleton in forensic contexts.
How long have you been a forensic anthropologist?
I've been with the FBI laboratory since 2004, so just about 20 years.
Did you work as a forensic anthropologist in any other capacity before joining the FBI lab?
I assisted with a couple of cases as a graduate student.
Can you tell us about your education, training, and experience that puts you in a position to serve as a forensic anthropologist with the FBI lab?
I have a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and a PhD, all in the area of anthropology. I'm also board certified by the American Board of Forensic Anthropology and the Forensic Anthropology Society of Europe.
When you conduct forensic anthropology work in a case, how do you first get involved in the case? How does it come to you?
To the FBI laboratory,
Yeah.
the case flow process is that all evidence is first received by our evidence management unit. And they read the incoming documentation and inspect the packaging and make sure everything is in place and in order. And then they prepare that evidence for delivery and examination by the scientists.
Now, before that ever happens, do the agents in the field have to send you a request to do some work in the first place?
Whoever is requesting the examination will send a letter documenting what that request is and that they're requesting lab examinations.
And does that letter bear the FBI's case number?
Yes, if it's an FBI case, then it will, yes.
And does the lab then assign its own case number?
Yes, in addition to the FBI case file number, the laboratory will assign an FBI laboratory number.
And did you conduct some forensic anthropology work in connection with the Quentin Simon case arising out of Savannah?
Yes, I did.
What was the FBI case number for that case?
Your Honor, may I refer to a copy of my report? The FBI case number for that case is AT, which stands for our Atlanta field office, 3665337.
And what was the lab number assigned for the work that you did?
The laboratory number assigned was 2022-02600.
And Your Honor, before I forget, I would offer Dr. Christensen as an expert in forensic anthropology.
No objection.
All right, thank you.
Sometime in late November, mid to late November, did you first get a request from some agents in Savannah to look at some photographs?
Yes, the first request I received was on October 28, 2022.
And how many photographs did you receive at that time?
That day I received 6 images as well as a bone that was depicted in those images.
Okay. And did you take a look at those photographs, and what were they asking you to tell them about them?
The photographs depicted a bone that they wanted me to determine whether it was human or not in origin.
And what day was that again? Did you get that?
The communication was dated October 28 of 2022, and my report is dated October 31 of 2022.
And did you look at that photograph and come to a tentative opinion about whether that bone was human?
Yes, my preliminary conclusion was that bone was non-human in origin.
Did they send that bone up to you in any case?
Yes.
And did you look at it in real life?
Yes, I examined the photos, they submitted the actual bone, and I then directly examined the bone.
Okay. And what was your conclusion at that time?
That the bone was non-human in origin.
And again, that was in late October?
Yes.
Okay. Did you later, sometime in mid to late November, get substantially more photographs of some different remains?
Yes, there were a number of photos submitted in a communication dated November 18.
And how many photographs was that?
These are represented in the laboratory's item numbers 15 through 26, so I believe that's 12 photographs.
Okay. And what were they asking you to tell them about these photographs?
Once again, to determine if I could, based on the photographs, whether the bones depicted were human or non-human in origin.
And what did you opine based on the photographs?
In that case, I did conclude that the images depicted bones that were consistent with human origin.
Now, shortly thereafter, did you receive a box of suspected human remains from the agents in Savannah?
Yes, the laboratory did receive subsequent to that physical submissions of some of the material depicted in those photographs.
And what specifically did the lab receive? What did it look like when it got to you?
When it got to me, so this is different than when it was received by the lab. It would have initially been received by the evidence management unit, who then inspected and then sent it to me. I received, in this case, I might refer to my notes just to refresh my memory, one box containing 4 additional paper bags.
And did you examine the contents of those paper bags?
Yes, I did.
And did you photograph the contents of each of those paper bags?
I did.
Your Honor, I'd like to approach with what I've marked as State's Exhibit 78. Do you recognize those images?
Yes.
And what are those images?
These are photographs that I took of the contents of those 4 bags as I received them.
And what was the date of those photographs?
Those photographs are dated November 21 of 2022.
Okay. And is the items in those photographs, is that what the Savannah agents had sent you pictures of a couple days before?
It includes what was depicted in those images, but there's also additional material depicted here.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to publish the exhibit by displaying it on the monitor. Now, were these the contents of these bags, or did these bags receive lab individual numbers at the lab?
Yes, they were assigned item numbers by the evidence management unit.
Now, what were the numbers assigned to each of these bags?
Items 27, 28, 29, and 30.
Does this first image here depict the contents of the bag numbered item 27?
Yes.
And what are those numbers we see in the bottom right-hand corner?
In the bottom right, you see the FBI laboratory number, which is 2022-02600. It then says item 27, dated 11/21/22, and to the side, my initials.
Can you tell us what it is that we're looking at here?
This is the photo I took documenting the material as I received it. Upon later examination, I determined this piece of tissue to not contain any skeletal material.
Did you do any further examination of this particular item?
No, because as a forensic anthropologist, I don't examine any of the soft tissues, only the skeleton. So because there was no skeletal material present, I did not conduct any further examinations on this item.
The next slide, slide 2, this is item 28.
Yes,
All right, so this is the contents of another one of the bags.
yes.
Can you describe to us what we're looking at here? What was in that bag?
Again, this is a photograph that I took just documenting the material as I received it. On further examination, I sub-itemized these numbers and examined the bones individually.
And so you did do further analysis of the contents of this bag.
Yes.
Slide 3 is item 29, correct?
That's correct.
And can you describe to us the contents of item 29?
Again, this is a depiction of the material as I received it prior to doing my additional examinations.
Slide 4, not a great picture, but is this item 30?
Yes,
All right, so the fourth bag.
yes.
Okay. What was in that bag?
This is a combination of soft tissue and skeletal material as it was received by me.
What did it appear to you to be anatomically?
It appears to be a foot, including some of the soft tissue and the bones within.
Once you had received these items and taken them out of the bag and photographed them, What did you do with the items that you did further examination? What was the first step?
As you can see in the images, there's soft tissue and other debris that's adhering to the bones. And my examination is just on the skeletal material. So in order to isolate the bones as well as to clean the surfaces so that I could examine them, I removed any soft tissue and cleaned the bones of any additional debris.
Now, I'd like to ask you some questions about the types of conclusions that you can arrive at as a forensic anthropologist, okay? Are you able to look at a set of bones and determine whether they appear to be of human origin or not?
Yes.
And how do you do that?
It's based on my education and training and experience, in much the same way that you all can probably tell the difference between human and non-human animals. The same is true for their internal structures and bones. So by examining and studying enough human and non-human bones, I can tell the difference between them.
And of the bones you looked at across these 4 items, did you determine that most of them were of human origin?
There were some bones that were of non-human origin and some bones for which I could not determine whether the origin was human or non-human in origin, but most of them were human bones.
And were you able to identify anatomically which bone in the human body you were looking at for the bones of human origin?
Yes.
And did these include a left and right femur?
If I might refer to my report, these are listed by item number and bone name in my report. But yes, there was a left and right femur.
A left and right tibia?
Yes.
Tibia being one of the long bones of the lower leg.
It's the shin bone, yes.
A fibula?
Yes.
That being the other bone of the lower leg?
Yes, it's to the side of your shin bone. It makes up the side of your ankle at the bottom.
Did these bones include part of a right humerus?
Yes.
What is the humerus?
The humerus is the upper arm bone.
And did they include part of a right ulna?
Yes.
What is the ulna?
An ulna is a bone of your forearm on the thumb side.
Did they include a left calcaneus?
Yes.
What is the calcaneus?
Heel bone?
And did they include 5 left ribs?
Yes.
Did they also include a frontal bone?
Yes.
What is the frontal bone?
A frontal bone is the cranial bone right here. It makes up your forehead.
Now, is that visible in slide 3 depicting item 29?
Yes.
Is it the bone in the top right?
Yes.
Did the bones that you identified as of human origin include a right temporal bone?
Yes.
Where is that on the human
The
body?
temporal bone is near the ear.
And is that visible in item 29 here, or is it in one of the other items?
It's difficult for me to tell from this photograph because of the tissue and debris on the bones in the photograph.
Did the bones that you identified as being of human origin include a left parietal bone?
Yes.
What is a parietal bone?
The parietal bones make up the 2 sides of the cranium.
And did they include various bones from the left foot?
Yes.
When you are looking at bones that you've determined are of human origin, are you able to tell whether they are consistent with being from a human of a particular age range?
Yes, especially for children, looking at the stages of growth and development and taking measurements of the bones, it's possible to tell approximately how old somebody was by looking at their skeleton.
And of the bones that you identified as being of human origin in these 4 items, 27 to 29, did they all appear to be from a human being in the same age range?
Yes, they were all consistent with being from a child aged 1 to 2 years.
And when you're looking at a set of bones that you've identified as being of human origin, are you able to render an opinion as to whether they're all from the same individual, like the same person?
Yes, it's possible to estimate the number of individuals represented. So just based on an inventory of the skeletal material present. If, for example, there were 2 left femurs, I would be able to conclude that there were at least 2 individuals present. In this case, for example, there were no bones that were duplicated that I wouldn't expect to be duplicated in a human skeleton.
So your opinion as to the human bones that you received from the agents in Savannah, that they're, to sum it up, that many of them were of human origin.
Yes,
Those of them were of human origin were from a child 1 to 2 years of age.
correct.
And a single child.
Correct, yes.
What determinations, let me ask you this, did you observe trauma on any of these bones?
Yes.
And what, if anything, are you able to tell us about when the trauma, well, let's start with not this case, but just a given case. Can you look at a human bone that has signs of trauma, and can you sometimes tell when the trauma occurred relative to death?
Yes. So if there are, trauma refers to any alteration that might happen to a bone. And we can tell if that happened before death, which we call antemortem, if the bone displays any signs of healing. So as soon as you break a bone, your body immediately starts the healing process. So if we see any signs of healing on that bone, we know that it happened before the person died. Perimortem means that the trauma occurred around the time of death. And this is a term that's used a bit differently by medical examiners and pathologists than by anthropologists. So perimortem being around the time of death, typically a pathologist is talking about a very narrow range of time. Anthropologically speaking, because we're only looking at the bones and we're not examining any of the other tissues, all we can tell is what sort of state that bone was in when it was fractured. So in life, the bone has water and collagen, and it's actually a rather flexible material, and it has some give before it breaks. Imagine, for example, you have a fresh green stick, and you try to break it. That stick has a good bit of bend before it will actually break. And this differs from a dry stick, where if you pick it up and try to bend it, it just snaps. The same thing kind of happens to bone as it dries. So bone that is fractured in a post-mortem condition, so much after the death event when the bone has become dry, it fractures differently than a bone that is fractured in that fresh state. That fresh state we call biomechanically fresh. But that biomechanically fresh state can persist for a long time after death, depending on the conditions of where the body is deposited. So the fractures in a bone will look the same to me if they happen right at the time of death or potentially sometime after death, as long as the bone is still in that biomechanically fresh state.
When you use do you ever use the term death event?
Yes.
What does that mean?
That just refers to when that person died, the event of dying.
Is it fair to say that in this case you cannot attribute any of the trauma to the bones here to the death event?
That's correct.
Is it fair to say that you essentially cannot tell whether any of the trauma to the bones was incurred before this child died versus after?
I can tell that the fractures didn't occur before the time of death because there's no signs of that active healing. So the fractures either occurred around the time of death or after.
Okay. One moment, please. These images that we've been looking at, these are the pictures that you took in your lab?
I took these photos, yes.
Do they fairly and accurately depict the evidence that the lab received from Savannah in late November?
As I received it, yes.
Your Honor, I would introduce this as State's Exhibit 78.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay, State's Exhibit 78 is admitted without objection.
One moment, please. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Dean.
Thank you, Judge. Dr. Christian, good afternoon. My name is Mark Henry. How are you?
Good afternoon. Very well, thank you.
I just want to follow up with some questions, if you don't mind. Okay? You said I'm going to skip the first items from October 31st because I just don't think they're relevant. Okay? And I'm going to skip straight to the items from November 18th, if that's okay.
Okay.
You said you received 4 items in, I guess, 1 box, 4 bags on the inside of the box, correct?
Correct.
Items 27, 28, 29, and 30. You didn't do any analysis on item 27, correct?
Well, I did an initial assessment, and once I determined that there was no skeletal material present, I did not conduct any additional examinations.
So let me rephrase that. You looked at it, realized it didn't have skeletal material, and didn't do anything further than the initial
Yes,
assessment.
that's correct, yes.
Item 28, you said they were bones, and most were human bones. I found that, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I found that a little odd. So what bones did you find in item 28?
So I ended up sub-itemizing because I wanted to account for and be able to accurately describe each of the bones in those depictions. Although the evidence management unit initially called that item 28, I broke it down in my report. Item 28-1, 28-2, 28-3, representing each of the bones. And in this case, items 28-17 to 28-23 were bones of non-human origin, but 28-1 through 28-16 were bones of human origin.
And just to be 1 through 16 and item 28, you said were of human origin, and items 27 through 23 of items 28 were not.
Items 28-1 through 28-16 were human origin. 28-17 to 28-23 were non-human.
And I was just curious, did you ever determine, is that the only determination you made was just non-human, or did you ever identify it as being anything else?
No, we do not report what species it is beyond non-human in origin.
Just want to follow up and check on that. Now, you said with the, I guess it's the item 29, which was the skull fragments, correct?
That consisted of some of the skull fragments, yes.
You said that was of human origin.
Yes, items 29-1 to 29-3 were human in origin.
And you, on item 30, you said there was some soft tissue and some skeletal material, correct?
Yes, they all had some soft tissue and other debris with the skeletal material.
And with regards to item 30, I assume you didn't do anything with the soft material, but you did identify the skeletal material as human?
I did remove and examine the skeletal material, yes.
And did you find that item 30 was human remains as well?
Yes, these were portions of a left foot.
And you kind of glossed over it, but I didn't really understand. You said that bones are, I guess, a little bit more flexible in life
That's correct.
than in death, correct?
Then once they've dried, yes.
So you didn't find, and I'm not trying to put words in, I'm just trying to make sure I understand it. You said that you cannot attribute any of the trauma to the bones to the death event, correct?
I can't say when they occurred with respect to the death event, no.
And with regard to these bones and this testing, was that all of the involvement and all you were asked to do with these items?
Yes.
So, you did identify the items you discussed as human material, correct?
Correct, yes.
And you couldn't attribute any of the trauma to the bones to the death of it, correct?
Correct.
And that's all the conclusions you were asking.
Yeah, in addition to the age estimate of a child aged 1 to 2 years. Yes.
That's all the questions I got, Judge.
Mr. Dean, any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. May this witness be excused?
Yes.
Doctor, thank you. You are excused. I'm going to have the jurors return to the deliberation room at this point. We're at a point where we're deciding going forward or stopping for today. It's a little early, but this makes the most sense, I think. But just to firm that up with counsel, I'm going to ask you to step to the deliberation room.
Jurors are exiting. All clear, Judge.
Thank you. All right. So I think this is the stopping point that we anticipated.
I think so too, Judge. If I can have I don't know, I mean, I'd like to do this, talk to Mr. first and kind of decide which way we're going to jump at this point. We do have 2 days of women's testimony to talk about, so see whether we're, so kind of get a little bit of a break, talk to Mr. first.
Sure. All right. Let's take a break. Let's break until, I think it's, I can't read that clock on here.
3:20.
3:20. Tell me what that clock says.
3:19 actually.
It's got, with the light, there's a glare to it.
Okay. All right. I'll look at my only watch. Okay. Let's just step back in at 3:30.
That's fine. Thank you, Judge.
Okay. Thank you.
Mind if we step out for a minute?
Yeah, we're in recess.
All right, so the court is in recess because we are on a 30-minute delay. That puts us back around 4 p.m., just after 4 p.m. So make sure to check back in with us then. We'll be back once they return.
Okay. We're back on the record. Mr. Hilliard? I'm doing fine, thank you. Oh, we need Miss Simon. Tim? All right, let the record reflect that Ms. Simon has rejoined her counsel at counsel's table. The state is present as well. Mr. Hilliard, you asked to take a short break with your co-counsel?
We did. I discussed it with Mr. Person. I think we're going to wait and do the cross of Detective Lemons. She's going to be recalled later on, and to me, it makes more sense to do it all at one time than to try and break it up. I think it's less effective if I break it up. So I just discussed it with Mr. Person. That's what we're going to do. As far as the next witness, I think the next witness, just to be completely candid, I don't know how long the state's plans to take. It will be a minute probably with me. So
Okay.
I still think today's probably still a good time to take a break today since it's the middle of the week. And we have Thursday and Friday, but I'll leave that with the court, Judge.
Let me turn to Mr. Dean.
The next witness is Daniel Youngkin, the defendant's boyfriend at the time. We're ready to call him. He's here. He's been waiting. We are ready to proceed. We started it, after 10 today, and we've only taken one complete witness.
We've got a little bit of a late start today. Let's press on with Daniel Youngkin. He is here. He's ready.
Yes.
State's ready. Defense is ready.
Yeah, I just have, because he is a civilian witness and not a police officer, I would like to have one moment to again caution him against testifying about any inadmissible material
Yes.
in the hallway.
Okay.
Thank you.
You may do so. And when Mr. Dean comes back, we'll prepare to bring the jury in. Is the state ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and with that, the defense has indicated that it's ready as well.
We're ready as well, Judge.
Okay, thank you. Please bring in the jurors.
What we do, Judge, if I could, I'm just going to put on the record when I'm observing my cross.
Yes.
Jurors entering. All clear, Judge.
All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please have a seat. And once again, were you able to comply with the court's instructions? All right, excellent. I indicated that we were reaching a point. We have one other witness that is going to be presented today. The state's going to call another witness, and Mr. Hilliard will have an opportunity to cross-examine if he chooses to do that. And then I expect that we will close for today and resume again tomorrow. Mr. Hilliard, I know you wanted to put something on the record.
I do, Judge. I'm just going to reserve my cross-examination of Detective Lemons until she's recalled, but I will cross-examine this next witness.
All right, fair enough. Thank you. Mr. Dean, please call your next witness.
Daniel Youngkin.
State's clerk to raise your right hand.
The evidence you shall give the court and jury in the trial of this issue shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Step this way for me, please.
All right, good afternoon.
Hi.
Mr. Dean.
Good afternoon. Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Yeah, I'm Daniel Youngkin.
And do you go by Danny typically?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is it all right if I call you Danny?
By all means.
Where do you currently live, Danny? Not the street address, but city and state.
Orlando, Florida.
And how long have you lived there?
Since April of last year.
Okay. Where are you from originally?
Like, where was I born? Or
Yeah.
I was born in Germany.
And where did you have a parent in the military or something?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And who was that?
My biological father.
Where did you grow up?
Essentially Dunn, North Carolina,
Dunn, North Carolina?
for the main part.
For the court reporter, is that D-U-N-N?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'd like to draw your attention to the defendant here. Do you know the defendant, Leilani Simon?
Yes, sir.
And how do you know her?
She's Sky's mother, my daughter.
Mother of your child.
Yeah.
When did you first meet her?
Maybe 2020 or something like that.
And how did you first meet her?
She drove up to North Carolina from here to see me.
Had y'all had some contact, not in person, I guess, before that?
Yes, sir.
How did y'all first, so you're talking about the first in-person meeting, if I understand you correctly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How did y'all know each other before that?
Some social media network, something like that, like Snapchat or something.
Are you saying you had met online?
Yeah.
Can you tell us what you remember about that?
Honestly, not much. Just speaking with her over social media and arranging a meeting.
Let's go back to that first time you met in person in North Carolina. Can you describe that for me?
Yeah, she drove up in her friend's car to see me in North Carolina, and I was at my job where I was currently working.
Where were you working at that point?
Love's Travel Stop off of Hodges Chapel Road in Dunn.
Okay, so you said she came to see you at work?
Yeah, I was trying to get off that day so we could hang out.
And did y'all end up hanging out that day?
Yeah, I think, she stayed at night with me.
Okay, and was that a one-night stay at that time, or multiple nights, or what?
I believe at the time it was a one-night stay.
Okay, and after that, after staying with you for that one night, where did she go?
Back down here, I believe.
At some point, did she move up there and begin living with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and did she have children at that point?
Yes, sir.
Did they come up and live with you as well?
No, sir.
What was your understanding of where they were at that time?
With her mother.
Okay. Now, where were y'all living when she moved up to North Carolina and started living with you?
In my parents' house.
Okay. And did she eventually get a job up there?
Yes, sir.
And where was that?
She had 2 separate jobs that she was working for at different time periods.
Okay. Can you tell us what they were?
One was at Love's Travel Stop on the gas station side, and the other one was Smithfield's Chicken and Barbecue, where I used to be a manager at.
Okay. And I'm not sure I understood you. Was she working those jobs at the
Separate
same-
times.
Separate times. What was the first one?
Love's Travel Stop.
Okay. And you mentioned that you worked.
I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay. Did you all work there at the same time?
Yeah.
Okay. So y'all overlapped at Love's?
Yes, we worked sometimes, like occasionally worked the same shift on different sizes, so I was working at the Subway there. But normally it'd be different shifts.
All right. And you're living in your parents' house with her?
Yeah.
About how long did that go on for?
I don't want to I don't remember, to be 100% honest.
Okay. At some point, did the two of y'all move down here to Savannah?
Yes, sir.
And where did y'all move into?
The house on Buckhalter Road.
Did y'all ever live in any other residence in Savannah, or was that the first place y'all moved back to?
No, that was it.
Okay. And who was living there at the time?
Her brother Joe was living there, and Thomas and Billy were there, living there, but they weren't there. They were working a lot, so they were on the road.
Okay. At some point, did Joe move out?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And at some point, did Paul move in?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Defendant's brother, Paul Simon?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where were y'all living at the time that the defendant gave birth to your child, Sky?
Buckhalter.
Okay, so y'all were living in Savannah at that time.
Yes, sir.
What do you remember about the birth of Sky?
It was fast and enlightening for me, I guess.
Before Sky was born, and y'all were living in Savannah at the Buckhalter house, were Zane and Quentin living there as well?
Yes.
Okay. Was that the first time that you met Zane and Quentin when you moved down here with the defendant, or had you already met him during the time?
I had met Quentin before.
So let's go to the time period where you're living in Savannah in the Buckhalter house with the defendant and the 3 children, Zane, Quentin, and newborn Sky. What was your relationship like with her 2 older children, Zane and Quentin?
Good. Well, I loved them like they were my own.
What do you remember about Zane?
Lots of energy, and liked to play a lot, and had a lot to say. Didn't really know how to say a whole lot, but had a lot to say.
What do you remember about Quentin?
Pretty much the same thing, honestly, and he was a lot more. He was more chill, I guess, than Zane. Zane was more high energy, but Quentin always had a lot he wanted to say and play with his brother a lot.
I see, as I've asked you these questions about the children, I noticed that you seem to be smiling a bit. Do you remember them fondly?
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you about work in Savannah. When you first got down here, about how long did it take before you got a job?
I actually transferred from the Love's Travel Stop in North Carolina to the one off of Dean Forest Road and worked at the Hardee's there.
And was the defendant working anywhere in Savannah at that point?
Yeah, I think she was working at this gas station off of 204, I think.
Now, moving forward to the time frame of Quentin's disappearance, okay? And I want to ask you about October 2022. Do you remember the day of the 911 call and all that?
Yeah, I do, but vaguely, but yeah.
In that general time frame, where were you working?
I was working at a warehouse for a company named Eclipse.
And where was that warehouse located?
What's that? Port Town? I forgot the name of the town.
Is it Port Wentworth?
Yeah, I didn't want to sound crazy by saying, yeah, that's what, I think so.
And was the defendant working there as well?
Yes, sir.
What shift did you all work during that time period? What were your hours?
First, worked from like 6 or 6:30 to like 3 or something like that.
And what about Paul? Was he working there as well?
Yes, sir. He was working the second shift.
And do you remember roughly what his hours were?
Yeah, I actually think we worked till like 2. I'm not 100%, but his were like 2 to 10 or something like that.
Okay. 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. roughly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would Paul probably be a better person to ask about that?
Probably.
Okay. October 4th specifically, the day before the 911 call. Okay. I want to ask you about that day specifically. Did you go to work that day?
The day before?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And
No. No, maybe? I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember. I know I took her to get her tooth pulled that morning.
The morning before the 911 call?
Yeah.
Okay. You're saying you don't remember whether you were
I-
awake before that?
I don't remember 100%. I'm not gonna.
That's fine. What do you remember about the defendant, taking the defendant to get her tooth pulled?
Early oh yeah, I think we were at work that day, and we left because her tooth was hurting, and then I took her to the dentist, and she got her tooth pulled that day, and yeah, that was pretty much that.
What car were you all driving?
The Dodge Journey.
And do you remember where the dentist was that you went to, or what it was called?
I do not. I barely remember the Savannah area.
Did you stay there with her while she had her dental work done?
In the general area, yeah, I wasn't allowed to be back there.
Okay, what do you mean by the general area?
I went to the liquor store while she was getting her tooth pulled.
And did you end up driving her home?
Yes.
So after you went to the liquor store, did you come back to the dentist's office that she was at?
Yes, sir.
I guess this is as good a time as any to talk about this. At that point in time, were you a bit of a drinker?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that, please?
I liked Fireball.
Were you drinking every day at that point in time?
Unfortunately,
What about
no.
now? So you're at the dentist's office. Did she get her tooth pulled?
Yeah.
Okay. And at some point, did y'all leave?
Yes, sir.
Where did you go?
To get some food.
Do you remember where you went?
I believe it was Cheddar's or something. She wanted some soup.
Okay. And did y'all go anywhere after that?
I think back to the house. Or maybe we went to 204 or we went back to the house. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest.
Where were the kids at the time you got back to the house?
With the babysitter, Michelle.
And is that where they had been all day?
Yes, sir.
From before y'all went?
Yeah. That's why they were at Michelle's, because we wouldn't work.
Okay. Tell us about the process of getting the kids ready and dropping them off at Michelle's in the morning. How would that go?
Normally, I would get them ready and drop them off myself while she slept.
What do you mean? I thought y'all worked the same shift.
We did, but she tended to sleep in as late as possible, and I would normally get the kids ready and drop them off over there, and then come back and get her.
Did you, when you would take them to the babysitter, I understand she lived pretty close to y'all's house.
Across the street.
Would you walk them over there or drive?
No, I'd drive them. That would be a little rough to try and carry Sky and walk the other two little ones across the street at the same time.
I see. So the morning before the 911 call, the day of the trip to the dentist, had you done that in the morning? Taken the
Drove
children?
them over, yes.
Yeah, okay. And let's go back to Cheddar's. You left the dentist, you've gone to Cheddar's to get some soup for the defendant.
I believe it was close by, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not 100% sure.
And after Cheddar's, you said you came home, right?
Yeah.
What happened after you got home? What did the rest of the day look like as far as you remember?
To be honest, I really don't, other than like, I know she went to sleep, and I tried to clean up a little bit and stuff before I went and picked up the kids, and then picked up the kids and came back and kind of just followed suit.
And do you remember when you picked up the kids?
Not the exact time, no. But I know the general time was around like 4:30 or 5 is when I was supposed to.
I'd like to approach with what I've marked as State's Exhibit 85, Your Honor. Take a look at that. Do you recognize the document that I just handed you?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
Text messages between me and Michelle, the babysitter.
Did you text Michelle about picking the children up that day, October 4th?
Yes.
All right. Does this document that I've given you fairly represent your text messages with Michelle during this time frame?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd offer this in as State's Exhibit 85.
Mr. Hilliard?
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay, states 85 is admitted.
Can you look at that and tell me when you texted Michelle about when you were going to pick the children up on October 4th?
At 2:32 p.m., I texted her and said, "We just got home. She got her Leilani got her top left wisdom tooth removed. I'm gonna try and clean for a few while she naps. She's still loopy from the meds. Is 4:30 still okay?"
And what did Michelle say?
Okay, 4:30.
And did you end up picking up the children around that time?
Around that general time, yeah. I think it might have been 5 o'clock or something like that, but general time frame, yes.
And did you bring them home?
Yes.
So now we're in kind of the late afternoon, and who's in the house?
Me, Leilani, and the Quentin, Sky, and Zane.
And was Paul at work during this time frame, as far as you know?
Yeah.
Did you make any trips away from the house to get a beer or go to Redbox or anything like that?
Probably.
Okay. And what do you remember about dinner that night?
I think I might have remade some spaghetti, added another can of sauce and more meat and stuff like that to some spaghetti I made the day before or something like that.
Did the defendant participate in preparing dinner that day, from what you remember?
Not from what I remember.
What was she doing?
To be honest, whatever she normally did, I kind of tried to not stress myself out too much about whatever she was doing.
Now, how was Quentin during the time frame that we're talking about? Dinner time,
Fine.
time frame?
Perfectly fine.
Nothing out of the ordinary?
No, not at all.
After dinner, at some point, did y'all get the kids ready for bed and put them down? Or one or both of you?
Yes, sir. I believe so.
What do you remember about that? Try to put yourself back in that house and tell me what you remember about the bedtime routine.
I really don't, to be honest. I was not fully. I probably just the normal, get them changed into their night clothes and make sure they're all cleaned up and fed, and Zane would have his little tablet and Quentin would have his tablet, and they just watch TV till they fell asleep.
Now, from this point forward, did you leave the house again that night at any point?
No.
And did the defendant?
Yes, sir.
What is the first trip that you remember her taking?
To 204.
Did the two of y'all talk about that? She say anything to you before she left?
Yeah, she told me she was doing that.
Do you remember what led up to her leaving? Anything about that?
No.
That's
not
fine.
really.
And what were you doing at the time that she left for 204?
Laying in bed,
What were the children doing?
laying down as well.
Where were each of the three children in the house?
Zane was on his race car bed. Sky was on the couch, or in her swing, and Quentin was in his playpen.
At the time that the defendant left for 204, was Quentin okay?
Yeah.
Did anything at all out of the ordinary happen to that point?
No.
And what happened, what was going on while she was gone on that trip to 204?
I think I fell asleep.
Anything unusual happened with the children while she was gone?
No. Well, I was getting ready to fall asleep, and then Paul came home.
Oh, okay. Paul came home at some point while you were,
Yeah.
well, if I understand you correctly, while the defendant was gone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell me about Paul coming home.
He came into the room and asked where Leilani was, and I told him where she was, and then he said okay, and then he went and got some food for himself from the fridge or the freezer, and just ate, I guess, and chilled.
When you say he came into the room, what do you mean? What room are we talking about?
The downstairs portion of the house where we were residing.
The bedroom that the
Yeah, that's,
five of y'all lived in together? You, Leilani, and the three
The-
children?
yeah, it's like 2 bedrooms, but yeah,
Where were you when Paul came into the room?
in the bed.
And where were the children?
On the other side of the room in their beds.
Were they okay at that point?
Yeah.
Do you remember Paul having any interaction with the three children when he came in?
Not 100%, no, but he might have said something to Zane. Might have said hey to Zane or something.
At some point, did Paul go upstairs? I think you mentioned something about him going to eat.
Yes, sir.
What do you remember about that?
I wasn't in there, so I don't really remember. I just know he was in the kitchen for a second, and I couldn't see what he was doing, so.
Did you see him again after that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. At some point, did he go upstairs and confine himself to his room?
I would imagine so, since, I stayed in the room, in the bed, but yeah, I would say yes.
Now, do you remember the defendant getting home from the 204 trip?
No.
And why is that?
I was asleep.
What's the next memory you have of that night or morning?
Waking up, and she was beside me, and that was that.
At the time that you went to sleep, was Quentin okay?
Yeah,
Had anything at all happened at that point?
not to my knowledge.
And let's talk about the night. Do you remember seeing or hearing anything during the night?
No, I don't.
Do you remember waking up to anything unusual or anything like that?
No,
Had you had anything to drink that night?
I would imagine so,
Why do you say that?
because that was my daily routine.
What was your daily routine like in terms of drinking? I know you said earlier, I asked you to kind of talk about your drinking. You said you liked Fireball, but
Like,
a little more specifically, what would you drink on a daily basis?
probably over the course of the day, probably like four or five shots of Fireball and like 3 or 4 25-ounce beers.
And how much of that was after work in the afternoon and evening?
A majority.
So let's go to you waking up. Did you wake up naturally, or did you wake up in response to an alarm, or what?
Yeah, I think my alarm on my phone went off.
And where did you have your phone that night?
Maybe it was under my pillow. I don't know.
Why would it have been under your pillow?
She had a tendency of going through my things.
What do you mean?
She would, without my knowledge, take my devices and go through them, and I felt it was invasive.
Why was she doing that?
She had this idea that I was wronging her.
How were things between the two of you at this time?
There wasn't much there. I was there for Sky.
So, you think you had an alarm set and your phone might have been under your pillow? Is that kind of where we left off?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you get up, what do you do?
Normally try and be quiet so I don't wake any of the kids up. And I tried to wake her up, but she was... Normally if I do that, I'd either get yelled at or something like that. So I would just... I said, hey, are you going to work today? She'd be like, no. And that's when I proceeded to text Michelle and say that she was going to watch the kids. As in this exhibit here, it says, hey, the kids are going to stay here with her today, Miss Michelle.
And what time was that text sent?
5:20 a.m.
A moment ago, you were talking about what would happen in the morning when you get up for work, and you tried to wake her up, and you said she would be like.
Oh yeah, she'd yell at me or, yeah, pretty much I'd get yelled at.
By the phrasing, she would be like yelling at you. Can I take from that this is something that this was not the first time this had happened?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you tell us about that? There's a history of this?
It's a pretty general thing at that time.
Tell me what you mean.
I would try and wake her up to go to work, and she would either yell at me for waking her up or say she's not going in, and she would make up the time and go in with Paul on his shift. It'd be a rare occasion for me not to get yelled at or that to happen.
Why was it during that time frame that you were able to get up and go to work as scheduled, and she would have these difficulties with that? What was going on?
I'm sorry, could you?
Why was it that you were able to get up to go to work and she was having these difficulties getting up, going to work during this time period? What was going on?
I would go to sleep and she wouldn't be there, so I just was kind of making sure that I could get a paycheck at that point, so I just kind of let her be her own person, of course. Well, not let her, but you know, she would do whatever she did, and I would make sure that the kids were taken care of, and that I'd make it to work at least somewhat on time.
So there are times you go to sleep at night so that you're able to get up for work and she's not there.
There were times that, yeah.
And would she talk to you about where she had been?
I never asked.
Now, let's go back to that text message to Michelle. Before you sent that text message to Michelle, had you been planning on taking the 3 children to Michelle's house that morning?
Yeah, the plan was because we missed the day before work for her tooth removal. And we both were scheduled for the next day for a shift. The plan was to drop the kids off and go to work with her.
Were y'all salaried or hourly?
Hourly.
Okay. So if you don't go to
It
work,
mattered.
you don't get paid.
It mattered.
Yeah. Were y'all saving up for anything in particular at this point in time?
So, yeah, a place.
Tell me about that.
What would you like to know about it?
Well, what were y'all trying to do?
Oh, get our own place and out of her mother's house.
And why was that?
There were some complications going on that we were told we had to leave, so we were preparing for that.
And
Trying to.
On the day that we're talking about, October 5th, 2022, did you all at that time have the money to go into your own place?
No.
And were you trying to accumulate the money to do that?
Yes.
What type of place were y'all planning to get? Apartment, house? What are we talking about?
Really whatever we could afford.
And is that something that y'all have been talking about in the days leading up to October 5th?
Yeah.
How much did y'all have to pay the babysitter? Well, first let me ask you, did you pay her?
Yeah.
And do you remember how much? Per day or per week or what?
Yeah, it says here, at the top of the exhibit, where she sent me a text message saying, "Hey, I haven't been charging for Sky. I do this charge for newborns until they are 3 months. So I will have to start charging for Sky. So 45 a day is $225, but I'll charge y'all $200 for all 3. That is still a good deal. Daycare would be way more."
And that was going to be $200 how often?
A week, which is quite an expense. For 5 days a week, that's what it was added up to. So,
what was the date of that text message where Michelle told you that she was about to have to start charging separately for Sky?
October 3rd.
And prior to that, had y'all only been paying for Zane and Quentin?
Yeah.
Right. So it was about to go up. So when she wouldn't wake up on the morning of October 5th, were you frustrated by that?
At that point, I just kind of blocked everything out and just made sure I made it to work.
How did you get to work?
I drove the vehicle that her mother had bought for her,
Which vehicle was that?
the Dodge Journey.
Did you notice anything out of the ordinary in the vehicle when you got in it?
No.
If there were fireball and curveball bottles in that vehicle at the time that police searched it, is it possible that those are attributable to you?
Yeah, quite likely.
Did you sometimes drink in the car?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would that be like while you were driving or when you were on break? Or what?
Unfortunately.
Okay. What do you remember about driving to work? Anything out of the ordinary?
No. Nothing out of the ordinary. You're just trying to get there.
Getting out of the house that morning, when you left the house and got in the car, did you have any idea that Quentin was gone?
No.
Did you turn the lights on in that room before you left?
No, sir, I did not.
Why not?
I didn't want to wake any of them.
Did you believe that there were 3 sleeping children in that room when you woke up?
I did believe that.
Is it fair to say that you were kind of trying to sneak out without disturbing them?
That's, yeah, because if I wake them up, then it's a whole thing.
Did you look in Quentin's pack and play before you left?
No, I didn't.
You okay?
Yeah.
At some point during the investigation, was there a period of time where you told the police that you had seen him that morning?
Yes, sir.
Were you sure about that at the time you said it?
No.
And are you sure now that you didn't see him?
I didn't look.
I noticed that you seemed, I asked you if you looked, and it seemed like you got a little emotional in response to that question. What is it about that question in particular that makes you upset?
Just, I wish I looked. No, I don't know if it would have made it. I don't. Just wish I looked.
Anything out of the ordinary from your perspective when you're leaving the house that morning?
No, sir.
Anything out of the ordinary in terms of the drive to work?
No, sir.
Anything out of the ordinary in terms of arriving at work?
No.
And when you left the house to go to work, which door did you go out of?
The back door by the pool.
Is that the one where you have to walk out through the bathroom?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Now, did you work a full shift that day?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
I received a phone call from Leilani saying that Quentin was missing.
Where were you when you got that phone call?
In the back of a truck, loading it. Because my job was to load 18-wheelers by hand.
So you're in a truck loading boxes and you get this call.
Yes, sir.
And what is your best recollection of what she said to you on that call?
Have you seen, or Quentin's not here? I'm pretty sure it just began with, where's Quentin? Where's my baby? Quentin's not here.
How long was that phone call, as far as you remember it?
From the time she called me to the time I got to Buckhalter.
And what were y'all talking about during that time period?
She was crying most of the time. I just stayed on the phone with her the whole time.
Did she tell you anything about what happened when she woke up?
The door was open or something, and Quentin wasn't in his playpen. And me trying to calm her down.
Going back to when you got this call and you left work, tell me about leaving work. What do you remember about it?
I ran out of there as fast as I could, and I actually left my jacket and a whole pack of cigarettes, which later on my boss mailed it to me, thankfully, and it still had the pack of cigarettes in it.
What's his name?
Dave.
Did you see Dave that morning?
Yeah, I passed him in the parking lot. I didn't say anything, but he stopped me, and he said, "Hey, you can't run past security like that." And I explained what happened, and he said, "Okay," and I left.
Was this when you were on the way out to go home?
Yes, sir.
There was security at the exit to the warehouse?
Yeah, there's security there when you go in and when you leave.
Why is there security when you go out?
I think they just stay there all day for people who come in.
Okay. And you're supposed to get checked out by security when you go out?
Well, you're supposed to talk with whoever your supervisor is, but I didn't even care to stop.
Okay. You just kind of blew by it?
Yeah.
I'd like to approach with what I have marked as State's Exhibit 30. Yunan.
Okay.
Do you recognize this disc?
Yes, sir.
What is on this disc?
Me going into work and me leaving work.
You're referring to video recordings?
Yes, sir.
Do the recordings on this disc fairly and accurately depict your arrival to work that morning and your departure?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I would offer, yeah, it's fine. I would offer this as State's Exhibit 30.
No objection.
All right, admit it without objection.
What does that mean? He's going to play it. Sorry.
Ask the court, does that mean you're about to play it? And I responded, yes.
Sorry.
It's okay. Where everything is being recorded, everything that we say is taken down.
Before I play it, Pat, is there any particular reason you asked that question?
I didn't understand what you said. You said you'd presented the. I just didn't know.
Okay.
Sorry.
No apology necessary. Your Honor, I'm now going to publish from State's Exhibit 30 a file with the name IMG_0695.
All right, you may proceed.
Do you see yourself, before I play it here, and again,
Yeah.
I don't know why every video is sideways, but this one is. Do you see yourself in this video?
Yes, sir.
Where are you?
The bright orange.
What is that bright orange garment that you have on?
My North Face jacket.
Well, let me go back. Is the bright orange thing your North Face jacket, or is that a safety vest?
I believe that's my jacket. I believe that's my jacket.
Okay.
Because my jacket is bright orange.
So is that you getting to work?
Yes, sir.
Anything abnormal at that time?
No, just looks like I was trying to get there and not be late. I have a tendency to wait till the last second.
And I'll now play IMG_0697. And what do we see in that video?
Me running very, very quickly. Without my jacket.
What did you think at this point was going on?
I wasn't sure. I had just received a phone call and was still on the phone with her, so I was just trying to get back to the house as soon as possible.
At some point, did you get home?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And did you talk to the defendant once you got there?
Yes, sir.
What was going on when you arrived at the house?
She was outside on the back porch crying.
Were the police there yet?
No, sir.
What did you all talk about at that point?
I asked her what was going on, really, like details, and what she thought happened and stuff like that.
You said she was on the back patio crying, if I understood you correctly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where on the back patio was she?
Underneath the, like, where the, sitting in a chair right outside the back door.
Yeah, by that wooden bar
Yeah,
structure?
that used to be there, yeah.
She was sitting down
Yes, sir.
on the back patio,
Yes, sir.
crying.
Yes, sir.
There are woods all around that house, right?
Yes, sir.
When you got home, was she not looking for
No,
Quentin?
no, sir.
What was she doing in the chair other than crying, if anything?
Just crying, saying she didn't know where he was.
Had she called the police yet, to your knowledge?
No, sir.
At some point, were the police called?
Yes, sir.
And at some point, did Michelle come over there?
Yes, sir.
And her daughter, Talia? Or one of her daughters?
Yes, sir.
Do you know how it was that Michelle knew to come over there?
Yes, sir. I called her.
When, in relation to your arriving home, did the police finally get called?
After I took a look around, I called Michelle and then called them, maybe? Yeah.
Is it fair to say it sounds like you don't necessarily remember who exactly called the police when?
Oh, no, I remember I called the police, but I believe Michelle was the first person that was called to see if she had maybe gotten Quentin or something.
Was Paul there when you got home?
I can't remember.
So let's talk about when the police get there. Okay, do you remember talking to some police officers in the driveway?
Yes, sir.
And the defendant was there, right?
Yes, sir.
Did she start talking about Quentin's father, Henry Bubba Moss Jr.?
Yes, sir.
Now, had she been talking to you about him before they arrived, or no?
She mentioned him.
When did she mention him? Was it when you were on the phone in the car, or after you had gotten home? Or
I believe it was when I got back to the house.
And what did she say about him that you remember?
That he had sent her a message saying that she didn't deserve to have Quentin.
Now, when was she saying that she had gotten those messages from him?
Maybe I think she said it was 2 weeks ago at that date.
Is this morning, the morning of Quentin being gone, was that the first you had heard of those messages?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so she's talking to you about something that supposedly happened a couple weeks ago. But you're saying she hadn't told you about that until this moment.
Correct.
Now, did you all talk during the time period between when you got home and when police arrived about what she had done during the night? Where if anywhere, she had gone?
No.
But there was some period of time between when you got home and when the police got there.
Yes, sir.
And then the police were there for quite a long time, right?
Till we went to the police station, and probably after that.
At some point, did you hear her tell a police officer that she had left the house sometime after 1 in the morning to get some Oragel from a friend at a Chevron?
Yeah, that's what she told the police officer. Yes, sir.
At the time she told that to the police officer, was that the first time you had heard that?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to show you a clip of body-worn camera footage that's been admitted into evidence as State's Exhibit 8, okay? Are you kind of oriented on what we're looking at here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
First of all, does this opening frame here depict the patio area where the defendant was sitting down at the time that you got home from work in the first place?
Is that where she was sitting when I got home?
Well, I mean, does anything in this image show where she was sitting down?
Yeah. The far left, beside Paul. But Paul wasn't. I don't know where Paul was. She was sitting in the far left chair, the empty one.
And you're saying she was alone at that point?
Yes.
Okay. This is sometime later, correct?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to play this for you now and ask you some questions about it.
Okay.
Have patience, for sale. They just got here. Did y'all go anywhere last night or yesterday with baby? That maybe he could have followed you or something to that effect? Y'all didn't go anywhere?
Not with my kids, no.
No, I mean, just maybe you yourself.
Yeah, I know, because I got my tooth pulled yesterday, so my tooth, maybe, I went to get some Oreo, and that was it.
2 o'clock yesterday afternoon?
No, like morning, wise, because I couldn't go to sleep.
Okay, so where'd you go?
Right up the road, right here, that Chevron. And I met my friend that I used to work with, and she had Oreo, because they didn't have any at Circle K when I called.
Okay. Did you go anywhere else that you maybe have been followed? So when did you get home?
I can tell you exactly the time I got.
I've stopped the playback at 12:13:19 on the timestamp. Could you hear as you were standing there? First of all, is that you in the orange reflective vest there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Could you hear what she was saying to this officer? I mean, obviously the body cam picked it up, but could you hear it standing there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How were you feeling? What were you thinking as you heard her say this?
Well, you can see me tilt my head to the side as if I had no knowledge of what she was referring to.
Did it, I mean, how did it strike you? How did this story strike you? What did you think?
What the hell? Sorry. Excuse my language. What the heck?
It's fine. You had no knowledge of this at the time.
Yes, sir.
You said that you tilted your head to the side when you first heard this story. Can you, I'm going to play it back, and I want to see if you can point out to, first of all, show us what that looked like just from the stand.
Just like a tilt to the side, like what?
And if I play this back, can you point out to us where that happens in this video?
But yes, sir.
Have patience, for sale. They just got here. Did y'all go anywhere last night or yesterday with baby? That maybe he could have followed you or something to that effect? Y'all didn't go anywhere?
Not with my kids, no.
No, I mean, just maybe you yourself.
Yeah, I know, because I got my tooth pulled yesterday, so my tooth, maybe, I went to get some Oreo, and that was it.
2 o'clock yesterday afternoon?
No, like morning, wise, because I couldn't go to sleep.
Okay, so where'd you go?
Right up the road, right here, that Chevron. And I met my friend that I used to work with, and she had Oreo, because they didn't have any at Circle K when I called.
Okay. Did you go anywhere else? Have you made your event followed?
I'm pausing it because I see you pointing at the screen. That's 12, 13, 15. We can kind of see your head tilt to the side a little bit.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to play that one more time from just a couple seconds back for anybody that might not have caught it. Because you would agree that it is subtle, right?
Yes, sir. And he was moving around, so you could kind of, you have to pay attention to see it.
Okay. Did you go anywhere else? Have you made your event followed? So when did you get home?
Right, so you had not seen that before, or you had not heard that before, I should say.
No, I haven't.
And your reaction was, what the hell revised to what the heck? Right?
Yes, sir.
Did you all go to the police station?
Yes, sir.
And did you cooperate with an interview or perhaps multiple interviews that day?
Quite a few.
Did the police ask you for consent to search your phone?
Yeah.
And did you agree to that?
By all means.
Did that concern you at all?
Not one bit.
After the police station that day, where did you go?
Back to Buckhalter.
And a few days later, did you come in to the FBI office in Savannah for a follow-up interview?
Yes, sir.
Now, between the first day's interviews and those follow-up interviews, had the FBI asked you to do anything in particular as it relates to the defendant?
Yes, sir.
And what was that?
To,
Let me ask you this. Did the FBI propose to you that they put you up in a hotel room and that they wire that hotel room up for audio and video?
yes, sir.
And did they tell you why it was that they wanted to do that?
Yes, sir.
What was it? What was the reason for this?
To collect evidence against Leilani.
Did you know at this point what had happened to Quentin?
No, sir. I had, I just know what I was told.
And did you agree to this monitoring of the hotel room?
Yes, sir.
Did you have any concerns about doing it?
No, none at all.
Did you have any concerns about you yourself getting in trouble from something that might be said on that recording by one or the other of you?
Not at all. Wait, by me get no.
Did you sign paperwork agreeing to this?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to approach with what I've marked as State's Exhibit 31. Do you recognize that document?
Yes, sir.
What is it?
Me initialing for permission for them to bug the hotel room, quote unquote.
And does that document have your signature on it?
Three places where I initialed.
And when does it reflect in terms of the date that you agreed to do this?
10/7/2022.
Now, did you all go through with this?
Yes, sir.
Now, before agreeing to this, let me ask you this. After the first day of interviews, you all leave, but before the follow-up interviews at the FBI office, did you talk to her about that night and what had happened?
I'm so sorry.
It was a long, kind of convoluted question. I'll try again. So y'all go in on October 5th, and you're interviewed by the police at the police department.
Correct.
At some point, y'all leave, right?
Oh, yes, sir.
And then at some point, y'all are in a bugged hotel room.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Between those two things, between leaving the police station on day one and the hotel room operation, I'll call it, Were you and the defendant together with each other?
Yes, sir.
Right. And were you talking to her at that point about like what had happened to Quentin and where she had been that night?
Yeah.
Did she ever? Did you ask her about this Oragel story that she had told the police on the scene?
No, not in detail.
Okay. Did you ask her about that during the hotel room thing?
Yes, sir.
And did she repeat it to you?
Repeat denying it?
Well, keep saying that that's what she had been doing.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah. Yes, sir. I don't know where my head was at when I was saying that.
Ms. you might want to ask that again.
I'm sorry.
I'm not sure that Mr. Young can understood.
Were you skeptical of the Oragel story?
Yes, sir.
When you're in the hotel room with her, did you ask her about it?
Yes, sir.
And what did she say about it?
That's what she did.
That it was true?
Yes, sir. And she stuck to it. Sorry about that.
I'd like to approach with what I marked as State's Exhibit 32, Your Honor. Do you recognize this disc?
Yes, sir.
And what's on it?
Recording of the hotel.
All right.
The room that we were in.
Just a couple selections, right?
Yes, sir.
Does it fairly and accurately depict some of your interactions in the hotel room with the defendant?
Quite well.
And I would offer this into evidence as State's Exhibit 32, Your Honor.
No objection, Your Honor.
State's Exhibit 32 is admitted without objection.
And I would introduce 31 at this point, Your Honor, to the consent form.
No objection to that spot.
All right, very well, it is admitted.
And there are 5 files on this disk. The first 4 are each about a minute long, and then the last one is about 7 minutes long. I'll start with the first one, the file name beginning 1941.
So can I ask you a question? Do you mind? Are you gonna get mad at me? I'm asking you a question before I ask you this question. No, because I need to know. Are you gonna get angry?
I can't tell you don't get angry if I don't know the questions.
Why did you lie to me about the origin?
I didn't. I did not lie to you about the order.
So you went and met Misty.
Yes, and I drove in and I drove out. And they tried to say that again, and I asked them to show me a picture of Missy or whatever. Did y'all speak to my phone lady? Did you speak to her? Did you speak to her husband? Is what I wanted to know. You know? And they said her husband. Why didn't you speak to her? Okay.
Sorry about that. Start that again. I want to stop.
So can I ask you a question? Do you mind? Are you gonna get mad at me? I'm asking you a question before I ask you this question. No, because I need to know. Are you gonna get angry?
I can't tell you don't get angry if I don't know the questions.
Why did you lie to me about the origin?
I didn't. I did not lie to you about the order.
So you went and met Misty.
Yes, and I drove in and I drove out. And they tried to say that again, and I asked them to show me a picture of Missy or whatever. Did y'all speak to my phone lady? Did you speak to her? Did you speak to her husband? Is what I wanted to know. You know? And they said her husband. Why?
All right, I paused it at 1942:17 on the timestamp. And the timestamp reflects that this was on October 8th of 2022, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Did you catch there what she said about what police told her about who they had interviewed?
She said they interviewed her husband.
She's saying police told her that they had only interviewed Misty's husband.
Well, yeah.
Okay. That's what she told you, at least.
Yes, sir.
And I'll pick up the playback again.
No, there is orzo in it. There's orzo in it. So you went and got orzo.
I went and got orzo. Pull it in and pull it out just like I told you last night.
And then they question you again about that?
Yeah. That's the only thing I asked.
We heard you say there was orzo in there. I'll give you that. What were you referring to?
There was orgeal behind the mirror in the house,
Okay.
in the bathroom.
When did you see that orzo?
The day, the 5th, I believe.
Okay, so like after, was it after y'all had been at the police station?
Yeah, no, maybe. I'm not gonna act like I remember 100%, but I know it was there. I think there was 2 tubes, like an empty tube and one that had some in it.
And where'd you say it was?
Behind the mirror in the downstairs bathroom connected to the room.
The second file here with the file name starting with 2013. We'll publish that now.
So what did you do when you left? At 1 in the morning. What did you do?
I went straight up there to the Zelda, right up between Zelda and Chevron, got the orzo, looked around and said, "Well, it came home."
That's what you did.
Yes.
You can look me in my
I am
eyes.
looking you in your eyes, Danny. That is what I did.
You can look
That
me
is
in
what I did.
Just don't, you don't
Stop.
really yell.
Look at me in my eyes too. That is what I did. There was nothing else that I did. I came home and I went to bed, and I woke up to my baby gone. Do you understand me?
So you didn't do anything else?
No, nothing else at all. I was gone for 12 minutes.
And who did you meet?
Misty.
You met Misty.
Yes.
And now the third file, starting with 2017.
That's like my whole family believes me more than my man does. At this point.
I just don't know everything.
You do.
Nobody knows everything.
The only thing we don't know is what happened to Gwen.
So what did happen in your thoughts?
I don't know.
What do you
I
think?
don't know. I have no idea what to fathom. I cannot make up something in my head about what could possibly happen. I have no idea what happened to that baby.
I'm asking you, as a man to my woman, what do you think may have happened? We ain't talking a minute about what could have happened.
But we did. We spoke about it last night, and I have no idea what could have happened. I don't care about what could have happened. I want to know what happened.
So where's he at?
I don't know.
I'm sorry, I'm not talking about church.
No, you just sat there and said, "So where is he at?" I'm getting picked up. I'm doing all the food I brought for you to eat. No. If there's the only person I'm sitting here wanting the love and support from that I thought would be on my side 100% is on the fucking FBI side.
And the fourth file, with file name beginning 2025.
Well, go smoke your cigarette and I'll wait till you calm down a little bit.
I literally told him not to sit in the hospital, so I'll be able to know where I started my life with you. You know, I'll just sit here and explain the only thing that you did not know that I did. And I explained it. Last night and tonight.
How you did what?
last file started in 2029.
You see her possibly saying that? What? Because it just be support? But I'm asking for your love and support and not your questions and doubt?
I'm asking you questions so I can understand.
But how many times do you have to ask me the same question about the same time, just like the fucking FBI does?
Okay, so it's just like the FBI, but you don't talk to me.
Yes, I have. I just sat here and explained to you.
You just talk
I
to
told
me.
you about it yesterday too, about what I did. You made me
Barely.
promise that too.
Okay, so you promised me with your pinky promise
Yes.
that you went and got
And I
Oreo.
went and got Oreo from Missy. I pulled in the neighborhood and I turned around and I went home.
You didn't go nowhere
I
else.
didn't go anywhere else.
You didn't do anything.
Nothing at all. Nothing.
Okay. Go smoke your cigarette. I love you.
I think what you're doing is you don't know that FBI internet and now they got you over here questioning me.
No.
It's exactly what it is. Danny,
No,
this is one of the hardest times of my life and I did not need you to question me. I needed love and affection and support and somebody sitting there telling me that we're going to find them, that it's going to be okay, that they are going to do their job.
We're gonna find him. We're going to find Clinton. They are going to find Clinton. They're going to find him.
I hope we do.
I do too. I really
So
do.
they told me that they still didn't have any leads.
Because when they ain't have none,
Yep.
makes sense.
What did they tell you?
That they didn't have anything they could tell me. And it's aggravating.
It's frustrating as hell.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
You just sit here and go smooth this through. Let me question you though. Like you have a question twice as hard as I have.
Twice as hard? Nah, baby. I'm the only other person in that house other than Paul. You don't think I got interrogated like a goddamn fucking... Bro, you know that.
It's funny to you.
Oh, it's funny because you think that I'm sitting here not in the same position as like you think that the shit is a game to me, but I don't. You. Woo, boy. My life. You gonna call somebody to pick you up? That's what you're doing? Right? That's all you
I
did.
wanted to come in here and I wanted to lay
Well, I
down.
wanted you to
And
chill.
I wanted to be comforted. I wanted to be sat there and told that we're going to do our best and that we're going to do what we got to do.
We are.
I did not want to sit here and be questioned the second time in a row by you about 1 o'clock.
It's the second night in a row, and it's not 1 o'clock. It's 8:30.
About 1 a.m.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's what Life 360 said. I apologize.
And it wasn't 1 a.m. Lola.
It was like 1:15.
And I got back at 1:25. I was gone for 12 minutes. It was
And you
1:13.
went and met Misty.
Went and met Misty, got Oreo.
And you said they talked to her?
I think so, yes.
What did she say?
And she confirmed it.
She confirmed
I'm
it?
pretty sure, yes. It's not like they sat there and told me what was said.
Oh, but they...
They said that they spoke to Misty and they didn't question me no more about the Oreo.
Oh, okay. I did tell, I mean, because there was Orgel in that cabinet.
Yeah.
But I'm not lying to you. So I need you to come back over here. Like, to me. Like, not right here physically, but I need you to come back over this way, okay? Because I did tell them, there was Orgel in that cabinet. You know? There was 2 without a cap, there was 1 with a cap, from what my knowledge is. I know there was 3 things of Orgel in that cabinet, okay? That's facts.
Yes.
And they didn't check behind that mirror.
I don't know anything about it.
They didn't. I know that. Okay? But it was there. And it is, if you didn't grab it, why didn't you grab it?
Because my mouth isn't hurting no more. I got the toothache now. It's filled up. I can eat on this side now.
So after that night, you didn't eat it anymore?
No, not besides the 800.
Why didn't you grab the Amazon or anything?
Because when I was trying that, it wasn't working. It was making me gag.
With the Q-tip?
When I was trying to put it in right there, it was making me gag going down the back of my throat.
Okay. Alright, well, you You take your second. I'll talk in a second. I ain't
And look, it was a waste of question. You say you go back to the FBI and cover your own ass, and you didn't say you're trying to cover your own ass.
No, I have no intention of that. I just need a. I'll go smoke a cigarette with you. It don't matter. I mean, just give me a second. I'll meet you down there because I'm just.
I want to know where my baby is. And I want people like you and the FBI to stop coming at me like I did something to my own child.
Why did I come at you like that to you? Because you, every time I ask you a fucking question.
No, Danny, it's not every time you ask me a question. It's
Oh.
every time you ask me about the 1 a.m., I told you. It was when you went into other micro questions about it that it felt like you were an FBI agent sitting here trying to question it.
But you don't treat me like that when I ask any other question? You don't treat me like that when I talk to you any other way? Or when
Yeah, I do.
You do treat me like that.
What do you mean?
You treat me like I'm accusing you of something.
No, I only do that when you sat there and you asked the first time I said yes. I went
No,
missing.
no,
What
no.
you continuously asking is when I started getting aggravated.
This time.
Huh?
This time.
Yeah, I am last night when you continuously asked. This time. This time. They did exactly what they wanted to do. Tore us apart.
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
They already did it. You didn't even admit it. They already tore us apart, and the way you treat me proves it.
She didn't really like you asking about that Oragel trip, did she?
No, sir, she didn't.
Now, sometime after this, did you agree also to have your telephone communications monitored?
Yes, sir, I did.
And
Also in 31,
say again?
it's, the, oh, no, it's not. I'm sorry. I thought it was on this document, a separate document. But yes, sir, I did agree to have my phone, monitored.
I'd like to approach with what I marked at Stacy's at 33 year old. Do you recognize that document?
Yes, sir.
What is it?
My consent for them to monitor my telephone, my
Now,
cell phone.
Was this, is this a fair and accurate copy of that document?
Yes, sir.
Is it one of those forms or more than one?
There's multiple.
Okay. And why are there multiple?
There's a second one from a month later, because I guess they have to renew them, I guess.
Did you have any problem with agreeing to this?
No, not at all.
Why is that?
I didn't do anything wrong. I mean, they already knew about what I was doing drug-wise, so I had no issues with anything they wanted to find.
Your Honor, I would offer States 33 into evidence at this time.
Objection, Your Honor.
All right, the one on the front, is that the first one?
Yes, sir.
And when does that show that that document was signed?
The 9th of October.
And then what about the second one?
The 8th of November.
Okay, so the first one's on the 9th, and then you renewed it again a month later?
Yes, sir. And I still, even past this, there was contact between me and them so they could monitor.
So it was more than just that?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, did they explain to you what of your phone communications were going to be monitored? Whether it was just your
All of them.
contact with the defendant or all of them?
Well, it says the purpose of viewing, listening to, and or recording any activity I may have with Leilani.
Was your understanding, though, that they would be able to listen to all of your telephone calls with anybody and see all of your text messages with anybody?
Yeah,
And you were still willing to do this?
absolutely.
Now, We just watched these videos from the hotel, and the timestamp and date stamp shows that those were on October 8th, right?
Yes, sir.
And we've talked about the consent form for monitoring your phone, and that was, the first one at least, was signed on October 9th, right?
Yes, sir.
Where were you when you signed the second one?
My mother's house in North Carolina.
When did you go to your mother's house in North Carolina?
I think I signed this first paper, and I think I left Georgia that day, if I'm not mistaken.
Why did you leave Georgia?
Actually, no, I didn't leave Georgia. I left Savannah. I went to Atlanta for a weekend
And why did you go to Atlanta?
to get away from Savannah
And after Atlanta, where did you go?
to Dunn, North Carolina.
To your mother's house?
Yes, sir.
And was that, at that point, was that essentially the end of your time living in Savannah, or no?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me ask you a couple miscellaneous questions. Let me ask you this. Did things between you and the defendant kind of fall apart during this investigation?
There was already nothing there.
Do you remember ever seeing Quentin with any favorite toys or stuffed animals or anything like that?
No, not specifically.
Do you remember him having a favorite Mickey Mouse toy?
No, I don't.
If he had had a favorite Mickey Mouse toy, is that something that you think you would remember, having lived with him during that time frame?
More than likely, yes.
And you have no recollection of that?
No, sir.
If he had had a Mickey Mouse toy that he slept with every night, would you think you would remember that?
Yes, sir, more than likely.
And do you remember anything like that?
No, sir.
Let me ask you about trash, okay? You lived in that house for some months, if I understand correctly.
How long? Yeah.
For a period of months, you lived there?
Yes.
Okay. We have seen introduced into evidence a picture of 3 trash cans on like a wooden rack in the carport area.
Yeah, I remember that. That rack.
Say again?
I remember the wooden rack where the trash cans were kept.
What did y'all do with garbage in that house, like kitchen garbage?
Took them to those 3 trash cans that were sitting on top of that rack.
And then what would you do with the trash cans?
They would get loaded up in the truck and dumped off in a larger dumpster to be taken away.
What dumpster would y'all use for that?
Azalea mobile home.
Now, what vehicle would you use to take those garbage cans to Azalea?
Thomas's white Silverado.
Is that something that you would do, or who would do that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would anybody?
I
else
would.
Would anybody else do that?
Not normally, no.
Okay. Let me ask you this: did you guys ever drive around with garbage in the back of the Dodge Journey?
No.
Like just a trash bag with leftover food in the back of the Dodge Journey?
No.
Why not?
That would stink up the vehicle. It just sounds nasty.
At the time, October 4th, October 5th, was there any garbage in the back of the Dodge Journey?
Not to my knowledge.
Do you have any recollection of ever having a garbage bag in the back of the Dodge Journey? Like full of leftover food?
Oh, no.
The back of the Dodge Journey is upholstered, right? It had carpet?
Yes, sir. That's another reason.
Why would you not want to put a trash bag full of old food on that?
Stain the carpet and seek in, and sounds nasty.
Do you have any recollection of having had any shrimp pasta in the household in the days leading up to Quentin's disappearance?
Possibly.
Anything more you remember about that?
No.
One moment, please.
council to approach. Okay. So, Mr. Junkin, I'm going to ask you to step down. You can have a seat in the. I'm going to ask you to have a seat. You can leave that right there. So, ladies and gentlemen, we got started a little with the evidence itself a little bit later today, although we were working prior to that. I'm going to let y'all go for the evening, and we're going to start again in the morning. We're going to start at 9 o'clock, so back to that, okay? And I just want to remind you again, don't discuss the case with anyone. Don't allow anyone to discuss the case with you. Don't read, do research, watch television articles. Don't consume any media reports about the case. I am going to release you this evening. I hope you have a good evening. Please know I understand this is not easy, and you have my thanks. We'll see you in the morning. Okay.
Jurors will be exiting. All clear, Judge.
Okay.
Queue up some audio or video in the morning. So I don't know if there's any particular dongle or anything like that. Who would I speak to about I guess, plugging into the system that's here.
Casey or Mary Ann is what I'm thinking. So if we're gonna start at 9 o'clock, you wanna be here at about 8:30?
I was gonna try and be about 8:30, so I can go ahead and plug everything up at that point.
Okay. We'll reach out to, court administration for someone to be here at 8:30.
Y'all have, I think y'all have my email and cell phone, so just, if there's anything I need to be here earlier, just let me know, and I'll be here earlier.
I would imagine that 8:30 is gonna be fine.
Okay.
Okay? Anything that anyone wants to put on the record at this time?
Not from the defense judge.
Mr. Youngkin, you will be the witness that begins in the morning, okay? All right, you step out in the hallway.
Rule of sequestration, Judge. Might want to advise him not to speak.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Youngkin, please don't speak with anyone about the case. Don't speak with any witnesses. You yourself don't do any research or look further into the case. But the most important thing is the rule of sequestration. Don't speak with any other witnesses about the matter. Thank you. All right. With that, we're in recess until 9 a.m. in the morning. Thank you. You're welcome.
All right, so day 3 of this trial coming to an end. We heard lots of testimony today, starting off with the continuation of Detective Marion Lemon's testimony. We expect her to be recalled later in this case. We also heard from an FBI forensic anthropologist earlier today who talked about the sets of bones she examined in regards to this case. And a lot of the day was taken up by testimony of Daniel Youngkin, who you saw just exiting the courtroom there. Daniel Youngkin, the ex-boyfriend of Leilani Simon. He talked about the beginning of their relationship, what their relationship was like, how he got to Savannah to live in the family home with her. They also talked about the days leading up to Quentin being reported missing, and we also watched video evidence of Youngkin and Simon in a hotel room talking about the beginnings of this investigation and what she had told police. We are going to continue live streaming these the court every day, so make sure to tune back in tomorrow when they resume. They will be starting at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Today they started at 10, and so they're going to start at 9 tomorrow. We are on a 30-minute delay, so you can expect this live stream coverage to pick up tomorrow around 9:30 a.m. Of course, we're going to keep you updated through all of our shows, both on air and online, so make sure to stay tuned for that. You can expect full recaps on the news this evening as well as on our 7 p.m. newscast. So make sure to stay tuned both on air and online as we keep you updated on the Leilani Simon trial.